Yeah, we had a few more people join, so I think what we'll probably do, we'll kick off. So again, for those who have just joined and assembled, I am Morgan, one of the account managers here at Cobweb, and of course we appreciate you taking the time out today in today's session. We'll be going over the art of possible with Copilot. Simply put, it's a session just designed to for you guys to understand more about what Copilot actually is, how it's going to be used in a real life business scenario, so you can actually get some value, some real value. Now we're joined today by Angela. She's a Microsoft Copilot specialist, and Angela will be walking us through the session today. So the session is being recorded and will be sent out afterwards. If there are any questions at all whilst we go through it, just make sure you drop them down in the chat or in the Q&A section. There should be a Q&A section up there in the top banner. And we'll get to those as soon as we can. So without further ado, I will hand over to Angela to take us through it. Angela, over to you.
Thanks so much, Morgan. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. So I've got the pleasure to deliver the art of the possible around Microsoft 365 Copilot today. So hopefully it'll be quite exciting. You'll see quite a lot of things within this webinar, and this is the agenda for today. So why are organizations adopting AI, where technology is going, why you should start thinking about AI within your business. Then I'll be talking about Microsoft 365 Copilot, giving you a little bit of a couple of demos, so seeing it in action, basically. I'm sure a lot of you have joined today just to see how does Copilot work within certain applications, so you'll be able to see it today. My favorite part is customize your Copilot. So this is to make it a little bit more personal to you, so stay tuned for that. And then we'll open up the floor for any questions. So let's get started with why are organizations adopting AI? So this graphic is just to show you how quickly technology is evolving. So it took 2 months to reach 100 million users for ChatGPT. And as you can see on this slide, all those little graphics, it's taking less and less time to adopt technology. Just to put it into a wider perspective rather than just months, the internet took 7 years to reach 100 million users, mobile phone took 16 years, and now 2 months for ChatGPT. So generative AI is not going away. We want organizations to adopt AI, Copilot, more at its infancy, so you don't feel like you're left behind, because it is advancing quite rapidly. Copilot has been established for coming up to 2 years now, and just to put it into perspective around Copilot, there were 300 updates alone last year. And when I say updates, I'm talking about the quality is a lot more better, it's a lot more faster, the capabilities within certain applications like Excel, specifically PowerPoint, has improved in comparison to last year. And that's why I mean, we don't want organizations to be left behind. We don't want you to feel like you're lacking in operational efficiencies. And then later down the line, you come to Cobweb asking for an AI tool to help with that because your competitors have adopted something like similar. And it's going to take a lot longer to adopt because there's so many more features to learn. So just put it into Copilot perspective that it is moving quite rapidly. Now, I do recommend you download this report that is free for you to access online. It's called the Work Trend Index. And what Microsoft has done is they ran a survey to understand organizations like yourselves, your take on AI. And what they found is, first of all, employees are interrupted every 2 minutes. So I am actually sharing my entire screen today, and I have put my Teams on Do Not Disturb, so I don't have pings of messages coming through and emails coming through. Obviously, I'm presenting, I'm creating new content, and that's just my role. So I'm juggling a lot of different things, and I'm sure I'm not alone when I say that, and you're probably doing the same. Now, what is Copilot going to do? Copilot is going to give you that time back, so you can focus more on your skill set, what you prioritize, rather than having to be stuck in the things that you don't really want to do, but you have to do. So those mundane jobs. It's going to paint a better picture when I go through the demos, but it's supposed to get rid of those admin tasks to help you alleviate that stress as well. Most recently, we found that 85% of people are already using AI at work. 80% of them bring their own tool to work. When I say tool, I'm talking about an AI solution. So it doesn't have to be Copilot. It could be a free solution like ChatGPT, for example, maybe something plugged into your emails or your so I already said emails, or your Word documents to help for your grammar checks or spelling mistakes. Now, that's a big number. So if people within the organization are already using AI and it's something like a free solution like ChatGPT, that might actually be posing risk to the business if they're not using it properly. I am going to highlight the differences between ChatGPT and Copilot, but just to bear that in mind as well. And I will obviously compare why Copilot differs and why it won't be posing risk. But it's a big number. I'm going to go into Microsoft 365 Copilot now. This is what the whole webinar is going to be about. So it's your AI assistants that is integrated within your Microsoft applications. So when you open up your Outlook, your Teams, your PowerPoint, your Excel, you will have Copilot within those applications. You do not have to go over a browser just to access it. It's going to be right by your side. So it's a lot more, you'll have a more seamless experience. Before I get into, how does it work and show me the demos, I do want you to think about this. Where do you see improvements in the business? Would it be to improve the quality of people's work? Maybe get rid of that human error when it comes to people that work in finance or HR, etc. Or where do you spend most of your time? Those repetitive jobs. Do you want to start automating those processes? Or effort. Maybe you have a lot of people that are leaving and you want to try and retain staff, give them a better employee experience. This is really important because if you start to think about where you see improvements in the business, it's going to make a lot more sense as to how is AI, how is Copilot going to support you with these improvements that you want to make, as opposed to the other way around. I know this is food for thought because I am going to just jump straight into Copilot now. But it's really important to note because the demos is really going to reflect a lot of these points as to how it's going to improve and give you time back and get rid of that user burnout as well. So Microsoft 365 Copilot. I would say this is suitable for any information worker, anybody that uses a laptop, PC, a mobile phone with these office applications that I mentioned, Teams, Outlook, Excel, they would benefit from Copilot. I do want to give you a little bit of a deeper dive as to how does that actually work. So please do not be intimidated by this slide. I am going to break it down. Okay. So as I mentioned, Copilot is integrated within applications. So when you open up an application on the top left-hand side, let's say Microsoft Word, you will have a ribbon of features. You'll have your font, your bullet points, changing the format, etc. You also have your Copilot button. Click onto it, ask it a question or a command. Classic example, Copilot, can you draft me a business proposal based on Project X? That's my prompt. Your prompt is then sent to the Microsoft Graph on the bottom left-hand side. Your Microsoft Graph is your internal data. When I say internal data, this is data that is stored in SharePoint sites, your OneDrive files, your emails, or your Teams messages. That's everything stored. That's classed under Microsoft Graph. You can even toggle on web browsing if you want to get information from over the web as well. It is really important to note that anything that you have access to, Copilot has access to. So for example, if you wanted 10 Copilot licenses for 10 users, it doesn't mean those 10 users all then have access to financial data when they never had access to it before, because it respects your permission boundaries. It doesn't go beyond it. Okay, so permission levels are really, really important before implementing Copilot. Now, once Copilot picks up the information that it needs, let's say it's picked up a couple of PDFs, emails, it's then sent to the large language model on the right-hand side. And the large language model goes beyond a keyword search. So when you use like a search engine, Google, Bing search engine, that's a keyword search. It will collate your words together, give you a data dump, and then you can try and figure out which one's most relevant. Now, the large language model tries to understand what is your intention behind asking that question. So I asked it about Project X, and it's going to try and understand, have I been working with somebody around Project X? Are there previous projects that are similar to Project X? In order to give me a richer response, just like if you have a PA trying to give you that response back, and that response is deposited back into your application. So in its own words, it will give you a response. But it doesn't stop there. It would also citate all of its references. Where have you got this information from, Copilot? So you never really have to second guess, because it's always going to tell you the sources that it's used. So hopefully you're still with me, and that's how it works in the background. The apps, the graph, the large language model all works together. Now, I want to talk about ChatGPT. Anybody that uses the free version of ChatGPT, anything that they input, the prompts, the data that they upload is saved into public data. So you're training the model every time you use it. There are very, very large organizations that have, I guess, accidentally leaked information into the model of ChatGPT because they probably didn't know it's using its data. Whereas Microsoft 365 Copilot does not do that. It has been created for business purposes. So you as a user can confidently ask Copilot questions that you deem as sensitive within the organization. You wouldn't want leaked outside of the organization. So anything that's sensitive, financial data, client information. And Copilot does not use your prompts or your data for its own model gains. It's not trained on any of your data, and it's not used to leak outside of the organization. So it has enterprise data protection, corporate protection, basically. So you can use it confidently for business purposes. Hopefully that all makes sense. We are going to jump into the demos now. I have got quite a few demos to get through. I've pre-recorded all of these in real time. I'll start off with Outlook. So this is the paid license that I'm talking about, Microsoft 365 Copilot. So you open up your Outlook. Let's say you, I'll tell you the scenario specifically. So Alex and Megan have both been discussing opening up a new store in London, and they've been going back and forth on emails. And I know we've all been there when we've been CC'd in a chain of emails. It's great for scrolling through 25 emails to figure out what's going on. Now with Copilot, you no longer have to do that. Click onto Summary by Copilot, and it will give you a summary of what's going on, so you can catch up a lot more quickly and move on to the next email or reply back, which I'm going to do. So, or Megan is going to do. So we're going to click onto Copilot, and I clicked onto Draft. There were two options. There were Draft and there was Coaching. Draft is Megan is telling Copilot, can you draft me an email to accept my tasks in the inventory? She's not mentioning what the tasks are because she doesn't need to, because she's already clicked reply. So Copilot knows there are other emails that are linked to this email. So Copilot will figure out what she needs to do. So she can be vague if she wants to be. You can change the tone, you can change the length, etc. Then click generate, and Copilot will generate you an email. My next demo, I'm going to show you how Copilot can sound more like you. So just start from basics first. And there we go. We got our drafted email. And as you can see, it's even bullet pointed the tasks in the inventory. So Alex is fully aware what he doesn't need to do. You can regenerate it if you want a different response, tweak it. There's another prompt box. You can say, add this information, make it longer, make it shorter. If anybody caught what I typed in, make it into a poem. I've never sent a poem in my life on email apart from creating this demo, but this is just to show you, make it a bit more lighthearted as well, because we are on a webinar, and also how quickly Copilot has transformed a simple email into a poem. So there we go. We can tweak your emails as well. Now, what if you wanted Copilot to sound more like you on email? You don't want to go back and do your tweaks yourself. In your settings icon within Outlook, you will have something that looks like this, and you can tell Copilot what is your tone of voice. How do you sound on email? How do you like it formatted? Do you want it less than 200 words? How do you sign off an email? Do you say kind regards? Do you say best regards? Do you say cheers? What kind of words do you use, etc.? So I'm asking my colleague, I'm telling Copilot, can you draft me an email to talk about Copilot training? And it's followed the instructions that I wanted. I said, keep it highly professional, to the point, best regards, Angela. Now that's in my instructions, and there's no word limit when you provide those instructions. So you could easily maybe copy and paste certain templates of how you sound to colleagues in comparison to how you sound to clients, for example, because you might sound different, and Copilot will follow these instructions. So you can get Copilot to sound like you. What if you want to write your own email? You don't need Copilot's assistance. All right, let's do that. So I'm going to write my own email. I'm going to say, hi, Emma, thanks for our previous meeting. Let's have another meeting on Friday. Let's discuss plans for a webinar. So that's my writing. Now I'm going to click onto coaching rather than draft. Coaching looks at how are you going to respond to a recipient? Have you had a hard day? Is it coming across on your emails? Are you coming across a bit blunt? Copilot will pick up on your tone and a lot more. So I'm going to show you what it comes back over mine. Under tone, it says, instead of saying perhaps we can schedule another meeting, change it to I would love to. Replace maybe we can do Friday to I am available on Friday. Under reader sentiment, it says encourage engagement and interest. So maybe ask a few more questions to understand a little bit more understanding around this, the webinar plans. If you have any spelling mistakes, it will be under clarity. I don't have spelling mistakes, but it has said, can you specify when you're free on Friday? Because I only said I'm available on Friday. So Copilot is saying, be more specific, Angela. Then click on add all suggestions. Copilot will create you another email. And you can replace your original email with those suggestions, or you just click on insert below and just pick and choose the parts that you want to take on board. So you have two options with Copilot. You can get Copilot to draft you an email and make it sound like you, or you can get Copilot to just analyze your writing style to better it. And that is actually a real life scenario because I actually used to type like that. I used to say perhaps and maybe a lot on my emails, and Copilot suggested maybe being a bit more assertive on my emails. And that has helped me because I actually get my replies back a lot more quicker than I used to. I'm definitely not more popular than I used to be last year. So coaching definitely has helped me with my writing style. So hopefully that can help you as well. Right, so that's email generations. How about tidying up your inbox? Maybe you've come back from annual leave and you've got a couple of unread emails to get through. A couple, I'm being, quite nice because I'm sure a lot of people get quite a few unread emails. Now I'm going to click onto chat and see what Copilot can do with organizing my inbox. And you'll get a couple of suggested prompts. You'll get a little microphone. If you want to speak to Copilot, you can, speech to text. I'm going to write my own prompt. I'm going to say, Copilot, have a look at my unread emails. Can you also group them? So I want them to be in certain categories. And we all know the types of emails we receive. I'm sure you can put them in certain buckets. So in this one, this is more to do with recruitment. So I said, put them in certain buckets, whether it's people asking me for more new jobs. Have there been any complaints that have come through? Do we have to onboard maybe new clients? Because there is a way of speaking to Copilot, or prompting, shall I say, because if you only said, can you summarize my unread emails, Copilot will not give you a response like this. Copilot will start to maybe bullet point all of your unread emails, and maybe you have over 50, and that you won't find that very efficient. If you spend a bit more time and ask Copilot to separate them in certain buckets, like how I have, you'll see something like this. It's even highlighting time-sensitive messages, which is basically the complaints that have come through, suggesting a priority order, what I need to address first, which is the complaints, and what's least priority. So you can get Copilot to help you with your inbox. There is going to be a new feature called prioritize. So you can tell Copilot what emails you prioritize, whether it's internal emails, external emails, specific recipients, etc. And Copilot will start to give you a richer response based on priority order. Now, I haven't got a demo on this, but in the same side panel that you can see right on the right-hand side, you can get Copilot to schedule you meetings. So you can say, Copilot, I want to book in a Teams meeting with a couple of my colleagues, mention their names. When are we all available for 30 minutes to discuss project planning? And Copilot will have a look at everybody's busy schedules and create a Teams invite when you're all mutually available. With the title, everybody's on the invite, time and date, you just need to say, yes, I'm happy with that. It will also give you alternative times if you just wanted to change the times if you didn't like the first one. So you can schedule with Copilot now rather than trying to go into people's calendars. Obviously, it only works with your organizational calendars, so external calendars you won't be able to access because you don't have permission for that. So hopefully you found that interesting around Outlook. I can't show you everything, all the capabilities within every application. I'm just showing you the main ones, and hopefully that's going to give you some ideas of what you could do within your job role as well. So let's move on to PowerPoint. So I would say this is quite useful for somebody that doesn't use it because they feel like it's time consuming, they're not creative enough, or somebody that does use it and that's going to speed up rather than starting from scratch. So I've opened up PowerPoint and I'm asking Copilot, can you create me a presentation around Copilot? Surprise, surprise. Keep it engaging, keep it fun. And I'm going to attach a Word document by doing / and it will show you your recently saved Word documents, or you could just start typing in the title and it will come up. And Copilot is going to give me a bit of a framework as to how is it going to create me a presentation. This is where you have a co-editing say. So you can actually change the flow of it, add more information, delete irrelevant areas that you don't want included, and then you can generate the slides. Once you're happy with it, click on generate the slides. A common question that I do get is, can Copilot use my company branded templates? Yes, it can. So you will have another box and it will say, do you want to upload your branded templates before Copilot generates you the slides, and choose the ones that you want, and Copilot will pick and choose which template to use against each topic, etc. So it will follow the same color schemes, branding, images, etc. Right. So I've clicked on generate. Copilot is going to create me a presentation with images that are AI generated or stock images. You have no copyright issues by using them, so you can confidently use them for business purposes. It's even going to add speaker notes, so obviously you can confidently deliver and you know where Copilot has got the information from as well. Now, whilst I was speaking, Copilot is creating me a presentation. So I'm just going to expand on it, and you can see I've got 25 slides. It's even added dividers as well. So when I'm changing the topic, it comes across a lot more professional with the dividers, and the images are placed in different ways. So it's quite varied as well. And we've got the speaker notes and where Copilot has got the information from as well. So we've got a full presentation that's professional looking, all relevant information from a Word document. My Word document was 1,800 words long, all around the art of the possible, and Copilot has created me a presentation on that. Now, as Copilot has done an amazing job, I have opened up Copilot on the top right hand side. I'm saying, as you've done a good job, can you create me the agenda as well? So I know what the agenda is and put it into an email template so I can let my colleagues know what I'm going to be presenting in the near future. And as you can see on the right hand side, Copilot has provided me the agenda in an email. So hopefully this gives you an idea that this is a huge time saver if you're going to use Copilot in PowerPoint. Everybody knows it does not take 2 minutes to create a full presentation from scratch. And now you no longer have to start from scratch. You no longer have to have a blank canvas. Even if you're using this as a first draft, it's going to take you far less time to just go ahead and just do your tweaks yourself, as opposed to starting on a blank canvas. Okay, so Copilot for PowerPoint, you can transform Word documents, PDFs, and now even Excel spreadsheets into PowerPoint slides. Or something general. You could just say, create me a presentation around climate change, and it would use its general knowledge. Okay, so that's PowerPoint. Let's move on to Teams. I'm sure everybody uses Teams. So in order for Teams meetings or Copilot to work within Teams meetings, you need to have transcription on. Transcription is not a special transcription, it's just Teams transcription. So when you're setting up the meeting, just say turn transcription on, or when you've joined the meeting, turn transcription on. I'm catching up on a meeting, so I have a recording and transcription. Recording is not compulsory, so just bear that in mind. It's just a bonus if you wanted to turn it on. All the colors at the bottom of the recording will show you who spoke when, so you know exactly who you want to focus on. Now let's focus on Copilot. So I've clicked onto the Copilot button and I've typed in what decisions were made during this meeting. This is so much better than catching up with a colleague and eating into their time, watching an hour-long recording. Everybody says, should we turn recording on? Do they actually watch the full recording again? Or do they skip parts? Or do they even find maybe one thing relevant? Just get to the point with Copilot, and Copilot has come back saying they decided to delay their launch date for this project. And if you've seen what I did, I actually hovered over the citations and it will tell you exactly what people said, so you can verify Copilot's conclusion. Now, I'm going a little bit deeper. I'm going to say, did they reach a group consensus? So did they all agree to delay this launch date? I'm showing you this demo when a meeting has ended. Copilot works live on a Teams meeting as well. So I don't have a demo on this, but I am going to get into it in a bit more detail once this demo finishes. And Copilot has come back saying they delayed the launch date by 2 weeks. I've already mentioned this, prompting. Prompting is important. So I'm saying list me the pros and cons and put it into a table. Now, if I did not mention putting it into a table, then Copilot might come back in a format of a couple of bullet points and a chunky paragraph, not the way that I want. So be specific, and that's what I've got in a table format. And we all have follow-ups. Well, 9 times out of 10, we have to do things after a meeting. Now I want to know what those are. So I'm going to say, list me the action items in a table with the owners against them. This is really good for task management, because if maybe one person has Copilot in a Teams meeting, somebody turns transcription on and they can distribute the action items to the rest of the team. So there's no excuse to forget after a Teams meeting, because when Copilot is on, it will tell you who needs to do what, as you can see on the right-hand side in a table format. Now, that is when a meeting has ended. On a live meeting, so let's say 10 of you are all talking about a certain project together, you can turn transcription on, turn your Copilot, click onto your Copilot whilst you're talking to everybody, and start talking to Copilot and just saying, you know, what was the last thing Angela said? Give me a summary of this meeting so far. Or even if you've jumped onto a meeting late, you could say, catch me up. What has been shared? Maybe a PowerPoint slide has been shared and you missed it. Has my name been mentioned? So you have your AI colleague live on a Teams meeting as well, so you can catch up, get summaries, get questions that were asked that you couldn't resolve on call, maybe if you're speaking to a client, for example. So you don't always have to catch up at the end. Right, so that is Copilot in Teams. One of my favorite features is actually Follow. So what Follow is if you are on annual leave or you have 2 meetings that clashes with each other, you can't attend that meeting. Rather than RSVP decline, you can RSVP follow. And what that means is Copilot is going to follow the meeting for you. I know that sounds quite strange, but it's really useful, because if people that can attend the meeting don't turn transcription on, you'll have to catch up with somebody or watch a recording. Now, if you click on follow, then whoever can attend the meeting, they'll get a pop-up that says, Angela can't attend this meeting. Can you turn transcription on? Your colleagues would kindly turn transcription on for you, and Copilot will note take, and that summary would be added back into your calendar so you can recap in your own time. So you can follow meetings now. I follow meetings all the time, especially when I'm on the go. I'm not always at my desk, so anything that's crucial, I can catch up with Copilot. Now, this is probably going to be a bit of an educational piece when it comes to Loop. Some people might know what it is already, some people might not. So Loop is all around project planning. So this is already included within your license, and this is all around, as I said, project planning. So if you're brainstorming with a group of people, you can create Kanban boards on there as well. On the left-hand side, you can have different pages, and you can collaborate with other people. So it goes beyond OneNote, it's more collaborative. And I'm going to give you a special feature of what Loop can do once I go through my demo. So I'm going to ask Copilot, can you create me a Teams channel announcement to let everybody know in the organization that we're running another charity cake sale? Keep it short, keep it sweet. It's going to be on a certain date, and there we go. We got our announcement. Short and sweet. Now, if I was sharing this page with my colleague and they have Copilot, they can actually edit this page using their Copilot as well. So we can stay just as productive. Bear in mind, if you are co-editing with Copilot, then you will see the other person's prompt, because you want to know what changes were made. Otherwise, your prompts are not shared with other people unless you're co-editing a Loop page like this. Now, I said add some funny cake jokes. Please don't look into this into too much detail. It is just for demo purposes. Now, I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to ask Copilot something, because I don't want a repeat from last year. Last year, maybe 6 or 7 people just created the same chocolate cake and it didn't sell out. It wouldn't be a problem for me. I've got a sweet tooth, but it was a problem for the business. So I'm going to say create a table so people can start to populate what they're going to bring in, so we don't repeat the same problem. Now, I'm a very slow typer, so you can probably see what I'm typing in, and it was okay. My prompt was okay, but I just want to show you that Copilot is not going to always get it right the first time, and I just want to be realistic with you. I don't want anybody to feel disheartened when you have Copilot and it doesn't give you the answer that you wanted. How are you going to rectify that? So I've got my table, but that's not what I wanted. But I'm not going to delete anything. I'm just going to keep it there. I'm just going to go back to my Copilot. I'm going to say, I didn't want this table pre-populated. And also, can you add some very clear instructions at the bottom so people know how to populate each column? Maybe somebody leaves special ingredients blank, and maybe somebody has a nut allergy and there was nuts and cake. You know where I'm going with this. So I want instructions. And there we go. Copilot has wiped the table clean and we have instructions at the bottom. Loop, going back to loop, there is something called a loop component. So if you don't want to share the entire page with somebody, or maybe just a little bit, you can copy it, and this is called a loop component, and you can paste it into Teams chats, an email, a Word document, all of those locations if you want. Maybe people prefer to reply back on email, and they can do that. And when they populate their answers on email, it would synchronize in real time back into your loop page. So you don't have to keep updating the system. So if you're chasing people with where they're at with certain projects and tasks, etc., just paste a loop component and leave them to it, and it would update itself. Okay, so that's loop, a very in bite size what it can do and how Copilot can support. Let's move on to Excel. I'm going to build up on this basic to moderate all the way to advanced use. I am a basic user. Now I have got my bakery goods. You can see a trend of my demos, but bit of a sweet tooth. So I've got my bakery goods on the left-hand side. I've got revenue of November and December, profit we've made, quantity we've sold. Again, don't look in too much detail. This is really important. Now, for Copilot in Excel to work, you need to put your spreadsheet in a table format. As you can see, I hovered over format as a table. Very easy, just highlight the cells that you want and click on format as a table. Then you can start to use Copilot. So I've clicked onto Copilot, and I'm going to click on a suggested prompt. I'm going to click on create formulas. Copilot is going to suggest a formula for me that I've not thought about. So it's going to come back and it's going to talk about revenue growth. So the differences between column B and C, so November and December revenue, you have the formula. If you want to learn, you can. If you don't want to learn, don't worry. At the bottom, it will give you a pre-window of how it's going to look if you did use the formula. All you need to do is click on insert column and it would implement it itself within your table. So yes, it's going to do the work for you, but also you need to say, yes, I'm happy with that. That's given me some inspiration. So I'm going to ask Copilot, can you create me a table? And it's not a table. Can you create me a column, but in pound format for revenue growth? And you don't have to be Excel savvy to speak to Copilot in Excel. Just use natural human language and Copilot understands, just like what I've done. So I've been quite lazy. I just used the symbol, the pound symbol, and it still understood what I was talking about. Again, gives you the formula, it gives you the pre-window, click on insert column, and now I've got it in pound format. So I know exactly how much it's increasing and decreasing between those months. I'm going to show you conditional formatting. So we're going to get Copilot to do it for you. So conditional formatting is all around highlighting certain cells on a table, and we're going to get Copilot to do that. So I'm going to ask Copilot, can you apply conditional formatting for bakery goods of less than £1,000 of profit? I actually said apply a conditional format. You don't have to say that, by the way. You can just say highlight the cells. It's saying it's going to highlight it in red. That's because I mentioned it in my prompt. And click on apply. And there we go. We can see bakery goods that are not doing well on the profit side. I'm going to fast forward it a little bit because I've got the exact same prompt, but I'm going to ask Copilot to highlight profit of over £3,500 in green this time. Click on apply. There we go. So now you can see there's a lot more bakery goods that are doing well in the profit side. So not so bad of a bakery here. Now, you don't always have to highlight cells. You could even add icons. I did not even know Excel could do this, let alone Copilot, until I started creating these demos. And I've asked Copilot to create me some icons against column I, arrow icons in a traffic cone system. So any arrow that is pointing downwards with profit percentage less than 40%, apply it against that. And there we go, click on apply and it's applied those arrows in the relevant areas. So you can add icons to your columns as well, rather than just highlighting cells all the time. I'm going to move back to my revenue growth because I'm actually quite interested in that. And as you can see, on my last column, there's a couple of minus figures that's showing. And I'm quite interested in that because that means some of the bakery goods are dropping in revenue in December. And that's quite important. Now, I'm not going to manipulate the last column. I'm just going to ask Copilot to create me another column and state red, amber, green. red, amber, green. So red is anything in the minus figures, green is anything over £1,000 for revenue growth. Obviously, you probably won't use all of these capabilities in one go. I'm just trying to show you as much as I can in one demo, but I have got a point to this. So I'm going to click onto insert column. You can change the topic with Copilot. So every time you change the topic, you have to refresh your prompts so it doesn't link it to your previous conversation. I haven't done that. And for good reason, because now I'm asking Copilot, fill the cells with colors. I have not mentioned what cells, I've not mentioned what colors, but because it's linked to my previous conversation, I said, it knows where to put it. So I clicked on apply and it's done red, amber, green in the right cells. So there we go. So changing the topic is really important if you are obviously not linking it to that column. So there we go. Anything highlighted in red is in the minus figures. Now, one of my favorite features within Excel is visual representations. As I said, I am not Excel savvy, so graphs are quite important for me. So I'm going to ask Copilot, show some data insights. If you want a specific graph, then mention it and mention what columns to look in. Now I just want some generic ones. So I said, show some data insights. Copilot will give me one sample and it's talking about revenue growth. There are many bakery goods that are not moving between both months, so sitting in the amber. You can click on to add a new sheet if you want to, but I'm going to go one step further. I'm going to scroll down. It will give you a bit of a blurb of what's going on. I suggest clicking on add all insights to grid. Copilot will create you another sheet with all of the visual representations. Maybe there's some trends that you've not even thought about and Copilot has created you a graph on that. They're not static, you can change them, you can change the axes, you can change the colors. It even creates you pivot tables if you want them as well to filter through. Okay, so this demo was more basic to moderate use. Let's go a little bit further. If you can see what I'm typing in, create me a dashboard using Python. Python is advanced coding. You do not need to be a coder, like an advanced coder, in order to use this. Just mention use Python. It will be on suggested prompts as well, so you don't really need to remember this. Now Copilot is saying start advanced analysis. Click onto that. And within your same spreadsheet, it will create you another tab and it will extract everything from your master table and create your dashboard. Something like a mini business intelligence visual representation. It's going to look slightly different to the previous ones, and I'll show you what I mean. I'm just going to expand on it a little bit so you can see it a bit more clearly. So as you can see, profit percentage, revenue comparison, a correlation between expenses and profit. If you did click onto any of these are images. You cannot change them because it's a dashboard that I asked. So if you are using a master spreadsheet that multiple people have access to, and they're constantly updating the spreadsheet, like what I'm doing now, I'm a bakery good that I can't pronounce has increased in quantity to 50,000 units. A very, very good bakery here. Now, if you go back to your dashboard, it will update itself, like you can see. So anything that changes in the master spreadsheet changes in the dashboard. So you can create dashboards in seconds using Python, but you don't need to be a Python user. Just mention that in your prompt. Okay, so that's enough of Excel. Hopefully this gives you an idea. It can do so much more, but obviously we don't have time to go too much into Excel. Let's say you want Copilot to have a look at a couple of SharePoint sites, an email, a PDF, a website. Where are you supposed to go? Because these are multiple different sources located in different areas. You go to Copilot Chat, because if you use, let's say, Outlook, it's only going to access your emails. So Copilot Chat is accessible in many different areas. One of my favorite places to access it is just via my Teams, because I always have Teams open. And this is how it looks. So you have a work and a web toggle. Work is your internal data. Web is if you actually had to use a search engine, but a bit more intelligent. As I said, it used generative AI, so you can access things over the web. Now I scrolled down and I clicked on prompt gallery, and you can change the filters. If you work in HR, you can say you want to understand something, and you can get some inspiration from prompt gallery. You can save these prompts as well in your own library just for yourself. So when you click onto it, it pre-populates into your prompt box. You can even save your own custom prompts as well. So it doesn't have to be, you know, the ones that Microsoft suggests. I'm writing my own prompt. I'm saying, Copilot, can you summarize my emails? my Teams meetings that were transcribed, and my chats as well over the past 2 weeks, and highlight anything that needs my urgent attention. Maybe I've told somebody that I need to email them and I forgot to email them. So things that I need to address. I would say that prompt is a rinse and repeat prompt. It's something that you can ask Copilot to do on a fortnightly basis. You can hover over that prompt, click onto this little clock icon, and it will show you something that looks like this. And you can say, Copilot, run this prompt yourself every Monday at 9 o'clock in the morning. And you can run it up to 15 times, depending, whether it's daily, whether it's weekly, whether it's monthly that you want to run it. My point is, you can schedule prompts now, so you don't need to get Copilot to run the prompt, you having to type that in over and over again if it's a very repetitive prompt. Schedule it, click on to schedule prompts on the right hand side. You can stop it running whenever you want, pause it, etc. Okay, so when you get the response, you'll get a little notification in your Teams that the response has come back. Scheduling with Copilot. Now, I'm sure people that have joined today, some of you have note taked by hand. Now, the magic of Copilot is you can actually take a picture of your notes with your phone, take a picture of your notes, upload it to Copilot Chat, like what I've done. I've got very scruffy writing, please don't judge me. And then click on rewrite this, please. Oh, don't click, sorry, rewrite this. And Copilot has transformed my handwriting into text format. So you can save it, or you can send it to share it with somebody rather than sharing your notes or typing it up yourself. You could probably give it a bit more of a framework. You could say, Copilot, can you, I had a webinar with Angela about Copilot. These are my notes. Can you make this make sense? And it'll add a little bit more of a framework against your notes. Okay, so those are the demos. There are so many more demos, so many more capabilities Copilot can do, but obviously I'm just giving you a flavor within this webinar today. My favorite part is customize. Okay, so please stay with me. There's something called Copilot agents. So I've showed you all of my demos and it can do so many wonderful things. Copilot can also create bespoke Copilots, and that's called an agent. So basically to get rid of the noise. So for example, HR are probably referring to policy documents that are hundreds of pages long, maybe a private SharePoint site just belonging obviously to HR. You can create an agent, which is basically your own Copilot, name it HR advisor, deploy it onto your teams. So it's like you're talking to a colleague, but you're talking to an agent, and you have plugged in those resources that I've mentioned, the policy booklets, the SharePoint site. So when you're speaking to HR advisor about Project X, it's not going to your emails back in 2015 just because you mentioned that keyword. It's stopping at the resources you've plugged in. So it gets rid of the noise and it only focuses on your skill set or things that you look at on a daily basis. And you can create as many agents as you want and share them with your other Copilot users as well, so they can make use out of it. That's just a classic example, policy reviewing, but you can create a knowledge-based one, for example, for the whole organization to use rather than people constantly asking specialist questions. They can ask the agent the questions and get the answers themselves a lot more quickly. Okay, so that's agents. I have mentioned anything that you have access to, Copilot also has access to. So it is really, really important to make sure that permissions are set properly. And Cobweb, this is like a prerequisite. So this is what Cobweb will do before giving you the license, the due diligence, basically making sure that not everybody has access to HR, etc. And just making sure things aren't overly exposed outside of the business if it has sensitive information on. So it is really important to make sure that SharePoint sites are locked down and only certain users have access to certain sites and OneDrive files as well. Right, there is also a 15% promotion. So let's say you are interested in your journey with Copilot for your organization up until the end of this month, so it's not very long left. If you purchase at least 10 Copilot licenses, you are eligible for 15% off those licenses for a year, because your license is an annual commit, which means if you purchase 10 tomorrow and 6 months down the line, the promotion has ended and you wanted another 10, you're still eligible for 15% off because you've locked in that promotion for 1 year. Okay, so 15% off if you purchase at least 10. And I have whizzed through this. We have gone to questions and answers. So I don't know if there has been any questions that have come through, Morgan.
No, I don't think that has, not at the moment anyway. But of course, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in. And Angela, thank you again for that. Super, super helpful. Really appreciated. I mean, for us, it almost feels like daily we're having conversations about Copilot and AI. And from those conversations, it's probably worth mentioning the security side, because a key area we are covering with our customers is just making sure that their tenants are in a Copilot ready state. So for example, that you don't have users submitting prompts like asking for payroll information or just sensitive information in general.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a specific security session to help people get in a ready state. If you guys are interested in that or looking to implement that within your business, those are on the 9th of October and the 6th of November. So it should be down there in the chat as well, the sign up links. I'm just trying to see if there's any other questions that have come in whilst we are waiting. And I don't think there is, but the poll has just been put in there. Guys, if you can answer that poll, that would be greatly helpful for feedback purposes. Just trying to double check, see if there's any questions. I don't think there is any questions. Angela?
I'll just highlight one common question that I do get, which is around in-person meetings. So a lot of questions that I get is, how is Copilot going to work if we have a meeting face-to-face? How is it going to give me that summary? Now, there's two options. So you can turn transcription on, so set up a meeting for yourself basically, and turn transcription on whilst you're having your in-person meeting, your conference, etc. And it is going to sound like you're the only person in the room. So the workaround would be mentioning people's names. So let's say, for example, John, Tony, Emma were all in the room with you. Mention, John, you'll need to do this in 2 weeks' time. Emma, you mentioned this. When is this going to be due back, etc. So Copilot is going to understand there are probably more people in the room. So when it comes to action items and things, obviously things that you need to follow up on, it's not just going to mention your name over and over again. It will mention other people's names. That's the workaround if you do not have Teams room license. If you want the proper experience, then you'll need a Teams room license and some intelligent speakers, which we can give you some more information about. And that will basically tell you who is speaking when, because you profile your own voice against your Teams license. So when you're speaking out loud in a person with multiple people in the room, Copilot is going to understand, oh, it's Angela that's speaking, oh, it's Emma that's speaking, as opposed to you having to constantly mention people's names. But you have two options.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I mean, look, if there are any follow-up questions or anything, from the attendees, guys, that's what we're here to do to help. Obviously, contact your account managers here at Cobweb or any of the friendly folk here at Cobweb, and we'll jump straight on it. That's not a problem at all. So look, if there aren't any questions, thank you so much. We'll get the recording sent out, as we said before. Yeah, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it. If there is anything else, obviously contact us following. But Angela, thank you so much again for your time.
My pleasure.
Really appreciate you jumping on in. Yeah, guys, enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Thanks for jumping on in. Cheers all.
Thanks, everyone.